Greetings and welcome to you, fancy, fancy feathers, you. Today we're going to do a reading. It's going to be another healing video. The title to this video, Triggers, Triggers and Cutting Patterns. I'm going to do it in a four piles. I've already chosen them. So I'm going to divide you into groups of four. My name is Shushana. Hello. I am a diagnostics provider. I am a scanner. And I am here to serve humanity. So I'm trying to figure out where to begin because there's so much that I want to discuss. What is a trigger? My channel is a recovery channel, and I tend to focus on alcohol addiction, but these videos can benefit any addiction, whether that is a drug addiction or self-destructive behavior. My channel focuses on sobriety from substances such as alcohol and non-holistic drugs. I support herbs. I support holistic remedies. I support holistic medications because they help prevent episodes. They help balance you when you've been through so much trauma, such as CBD tinctures, THC in its most natural form. This day and age, everything is genetically modified and lab created, and it's so important for you to try to grow your own medicine, try to grow your own fruits, vegetables, herbs, teas, etc. If you can. If you have a house and you have a yard, you have the luxury and the blessing of having a yard. Use it. Grow fruits, grow vegetables, pickle and can and jar all of your things, because in certain countries we are not offered what we deserve. You know what I mean? And when you go to a farmer's market and you're not offered what you deserve, then you have to take matters under your own hands and grow your own vegetables and grow your own fruits, because what we deserve is affordable, natural food that has not been sprayed with pesticides and chemicals and mutations. When somebody is not getting their natural derived food, natural derived protein, what do you think that does to the body when you're not getting what you need? So it's very important to stay up to date with supplements, high quality supplements. So are we ready? Are we ready to clear some triggers and cut patterns that lead to relapse? Um, Sorry that I seem a bit distracted. It's just that I have so much that I want to express and say that I'm trying to compartmentalize it all. So let's do groups. Okay? Group 1, King of Diamonds. Group 2, Queen of Spades. Group 3, Queen of Hearts. Group 4, Jack of Spades. And I want you to be honest with how you're feeling. And the reason why I say that is because sometimes later on in life, when you go back to pick a card readings and you feel a different way, or you're dealing with a different circumstance, you can choose a different pile and still receive some kind of benefit. So regardless of your gender, how do you feel right now? Do you feel like you are in your masculine? Do you feel like you are in your feminine? Do you feel forced to act and behave like a feminine? Do you feel forced and obligated to be masculine even though you're feminine? Pile 1, pile 2, pile 3, and pile 4. And it's so funny that as I do this, am I going too fast? As I do this, the energies don't want to leave and I'm processing them. So I'm processing your triggers and putting them into piles right now. And the amount of anger, the amount of pain, the amount of trauma, the amount of psychological warfare and psychological trauma, the amount of etc. is so intense that it's almost impossible to translate into words how much emotion is in here right now. Okay. And this started before the reading, trust me. Let me tell you, you want to know what happens behind the scenes before I start recording these videos? Before I start doing these videos, things go flying. Okay, things go flying, profanity gets said, things get thrown, things are hitting the wall. And it's this anger and rage of the enemy not wanting these readings to be uploaded and delivered. So whenever I see those rageful energies, you just have to keep on moving, keep on going, keep doing what you were doing, because the more there's a resistance, the more ... needs to be done. Okay. So let's go ahead and begin with the first one, because let me tell you, these energies do not want to leave. Okay. These energies do not want to leave. So it's the reason why I go so fast, because I don't judge healers by how slow or fast they go. There are so many different kinds of healers, and I only work with holistic healers for the most part. They have to be holistic, they have to be natural, they have to be TCM, and anything in that scope. And everybody goes at a different speed, and I don't judge that. However, I was taught to go fast. I was taught by my teacher to go fast, particularly in chanting. So if you're doing healing chants like a Taoist chant, a positive mantra, a safe mantra that actually helps you stay balanced or grounded, you have to be careful, because sometimes those are not as safe as they seem. So you have to double, triple check that whatever chant that you're doing is actually a positive one. Okay. Anywho, when you have found one that has healing energy, you want to do that chant as fast as possible, because if you don't do it fast, interruptions will interrupt, and and energies kind of cause things to not get cleared because it wasn't done fast enough before certain things notice. And when you take too long, Well, it just depends on people's style because there's some people that can take an hour long and they do an amazing job. And there's people that do it at the snap of their fingers and it's different, a different angle, or there's so much spiritual activity that you can't just say, oh, it's all cleared, oh, it's all done. Um, there is so much activity 24/7, 24/7. There's so much activity, right? So I just wanted to mention that because there's no wrong way of doing healing. If you feel like, let's say you are interested in becoming an acupuncturist, a massage therapist, whatever it is, there's no right or wrong way of doing it. We already know how to do it because we know why we are here. We know why we reincarnated into this world, especially empathic people, hypersensitive people. Um, we have a mission. So there's no right or wrong way to do things. As the years go by and as you continue doing energy work, your own soul will tell you how to do things and how not to do things. Okay, so don't freak out if, oh, if I take too long because I do 30 minutes on my customers, or am I doing it too fast? Do it the way that you feel is right, especially in your tummy. You know, if your tummy tells you that's the right way, it's the right way. Just listen to your tummy. There's no right or wrong way to do it. I personally just do it fast because that's how I was taught. Um, it's like you want to clear certain things before certain things catch on. You know what I mean? I'm sorry, I'm getting sidetracked. King of Diamonds. We're going to be clearing your trigger and we're going to be cutting the pattern. Let's go ahead and start off with the triggers. So, your family, you have your family is your trigger, your family, your spouse, and it's always around you. We can't always make those excuses. We can't always use that as an excuse that it's always around. For some reason, I feel like your triggers are not that hard. I'm just being honest. I feel like your trigger is not really a trigger, but an excuse. Like you put excuses of why you should do something. Okay, so let's say you make an excuse to go to the store and treat yourself to something that is rather low vibrational, right? And you're like, well, I deserve this. I worked hard. So then you go home and you drink it. How do you feel the next day? Do you feel like you accomplished something? Do you feel amazing, like you slept well? Or do you feel guilt, shame, and regret? If you feel guilt, shame, and regret, that is your sign. That is your body telling you that your body wants something that is of a higher vibration than this substance that you have been choosing. And this pile, I don't see the trigger. I just see you having the strength to resist the temptation. I see you having the strength to resist making excuses. The trigger that I do see is it being around you all the time. It has the hold of you. It's like this ring. It's around you all of the time. And it's really hard to clear that kind of energy. It's really hard to clear alcohol energy. Trust me. The longest that I have been able to be sober is 6 years. So trust me, I know how hard it is. And a lot of things that people don't discuss when it comes to alcohol addiction is the true reason for the relapses. So we're going to be clearing this ring. It's like a ring of fire. And we're just going to be clearing the circle so that you don't feel like you're in a container anymore. You feel like you're cornered. And we're just going to remove this illusion that you are cornered and that you have this ring of fire around you that you can't go over, and going over it is basically resisting the temptation. So the actual trigger is saying no when it's around you. Like you kind of feel like a little kid and you're like, well, this person brought it around. So, you have a hard time resisting the temptation. So we're going ahead and clearing that. The two main reasons why people relapse, number one is ego. Ego is the number one reason why people relapse. You were disappointed, weren't you? You were disappointed. You were disappointed that something didn't go your way. So you fed ego, and ego led to relapse. The second most common reason why people relapse is because of possession. Possession. Why is possession two? Because ego leads to possession. And that's why ego is so bad, and why ego ruins relationships, ruins potential, ruins hot irons. You know, like when they say strike when the iron is hot, why don't they strike? Because there's ego there. So now you should be feeling like you have nervousness now. Now you're nervous about the true addiction, the true thing that's hiding, that's underneath. And you're like, wait a minute, I'm not going to lie. It makes me feel pleasure. It makes me feel pleasure for just a little bit. So even if I feel like crap the next day, it makes me feel like pleasure when I'm under the influence of it. So you start thinking about yourself. When you say no to something that you know is not good for you, that is related to the regret, that is when you start doing the real inner work. And the real inner work has to do with, why do you need pleasure? What are you trying to escape? What are you trying to pain kill in an unhealthy manner? Let's go ahead and start clearing the second thing, which is the toxic pattern, and that's the temptation, which is very closely related to the trigger. Um, there's also another trigger that has to do with family fights and feeling so much pain from that and just wanting the pain to go away. When you feel a great amount of pain, if you don't want to relapse and you are serious about your recovery, take valerian root. Okay? Don't take it before work. Take valerian root if you are going to relapse and you have an argument or emotions or disappointment. Argument with the family is the most common one. find a place to take a nap. Find a safe place to take a nap. Like instead of thinking, what am I going to relapse with? Or where am I going to go to relapse? Instead of thinking that, think about where am I going to take a nap and get you some valerian root. You can get yourself valerian root in just about anywhere. Usually at grocery stores, they won't have the best quality, but it will get to the point, if you know what I mean. So take some valerian root and sleep it off because the enemy does not want you to do that. The enemy doesn't want you to take a nap and sleep it off. They want you to go down under, to go down and lower your vibration down to feeling uncontrollable depression. Do you want to go back there? Like, write a text to yourself and say, do I want to end up with unbearable depression? You know, especially if you're mm, mid 20s, 30s, 40s, you know, you start feeling like the amount of depression feels more and more unbearable as you age when you continue doing the old way, when you end up continuing that path that you know that you're not supposed to be on. There's also boredom here for some of you where you just get bored with your friends. Okay, you're bored because you're surrounded by the wrong people. If you're surrounded by the right person, you will never get bored. You know, someone that wants to do everything and anything with you, take a walk at the park, pruning the garden, getting some tea from a coffee shop, the simple things. So we're clearing out the temptation. It's also like this circle around you, but it's also on the inside. And you're going to have to deal with why you feel that way. When you feel like you are in pain and you need something to relieve it, what is it that you're trying to relieve? Existing? If it has to do with existing, if you feel like there's different levels of depression, there's different levels of suicidal. And I think I'm going to do a video for that one day, um, like what they all mean. When you're feeling suicidal, it means that you need to crank up on high quality supplements, as well as find a holistic source of medication, whether that is, there's so much medicine in this world. Like, there's an entire encyclopedia of medicine and herbs in this world. Sorry if my stomach is about to start growling. It's so frustrating because I like fasting and it doesn't go with doing videos. Fasting and doing these videos just don't mix because then my stomach will just be growling the whole time. Okay. So, temptation. You're worried about how you're going to look saying no. Like, come on, dude. Like, your friends are so superficial that they're going to think something bad about you because you're saying no. Then you need to lose that friend. Like, any friend that is going to think something about you because you say no, it's exactly, unfortunately, when you decide to say no to alcohol and parties, when you say no to staying up until 4 o'clock in the morning partying, you are going to lose a lot of friends. Unfortunately, you're going to lose all of your friends. It happened to me. I stopped partying, I stopped drinking, and I lost all my friends. And I'm like, you know what? Maybe they weren't really friends. Maybe they were just enablers. Okay, so let the enablers fall away. There's no reason why the temptation should be that strong. And if it is that strong, then work on that pattern. So let's see if there's anything else. No. Okay, moving on to pile two. Hi, pile two. For those of you who chose the Queen of Spades, I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. These are just collective readings. If it doesn't resonate with you, it's not your story. Okay? I am very blunt in my readings. It is my mission to be blunt because that's the only way things change. So, pile two. You have mental health issues. You have, like, you feel psychotic. You feel like you're losing your mind, okay? If you're having any of those symptoms where you just out of nowhere, it feels like a spark of madness, there is either people thinking negative things against you or you doing self destructive behavior. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and clear those. And yours, for some reason, is C shaped. So we're clearing this C. It's like a C shaped blockage that has you thinking that self destructive behavior is the solution. So we're just going to kind of clear that core belief, I suppose, that every time something happens, such as a trigger, that's the solution, self-destructive behavior, self-destructive behavior. So no, it's not. We're just going to cut it all up. I don't know if you saw that, but as soon as I cleared it, it went right back on. So I had to clear it twice. Um, every time that you do something self-destructive, you are not winning. Please remember that. Every time that you do something self-destructive, you are not winning. And for some reason, you've told yourself that. You've stamped it on your forehead and you said, I'm not getting my way. They're not doing what I said. I'm going to do self-destructive behavior. And you've just been huffing and puffing away, being self-destructive and rebellious. Okay, remember what I said. Ego is the reason why people relapse. Ego or possession. You need to work on your ego because your ego is causing all the problems. Spiritual problems, physical problems, emotional, mental problems. Very good. So the first thing was forgotten, and that's very good. That means that it's like, it's so forgotten that it was a success. And now the pattern. The pattern is vanity. Vanity gets people hurt. So let's say you do a mistake and you regret it. You get mad. You say, my God, I made a mistake. I did this. I didn't realize that this. How come I have to suffer the consequences such as I did that times 10? The reason for that is because the vanity affects multiple people. So you get multiple karma. Vanity affects multiple people. So you get multiple karma for it. Um, I'm like thinking if I should share something super personal about vanity. Um, let's just say that there was a past lifetime where an entire family was massacred over vanity. Okay, I just want to give you that as an example because a lot of people, especially people with succubus energy, have this vanity where they just want to seduce the world. They want all men to fall in love with them. And they have this vanity. And then they wonder why they're so unhappy and they feel so much torment and loneliness in the middle of the night. There's different reasons why there are different kinds of emotions, but with vanity, you become like this temptress and you're tempting the world. There's, oh God, it's like I don't want to sound like I'm criticizing. These are just messages. There's people that like to show their body parts obnoxiously. And they don't understand how much of a negative effect that they have by doing that and becoming this vanity object, that tempts men and seduces men and even lures married men away from their spouse. So then, behind closed doors, these kind of people, they deal with suicidal thoughts and they don't understand why. There's so many different reasons why, right? Depending on the circumstance. But a lot of times the people that show a lot or want a lot of attention um have suicidal thoughts and they don't understand where they come from, and they come from the damage of ruining marriages behind the scenes, and there's consequences for that. So, for whoever that resonates for, because these, take what resonates and leave what doesn't, please. So, let's go back to the pattern of vanity. With your permission, we're going to go ahead and clear it, and it is a screen. It's webbed and screened, and it's just constant, constant, constant. Every time that you show vanity, or let's just keep it at vanity because it doesn't want to be shared with any other labels. Be aware of the effect that you have on people, okay? And in regards to the substance of your choice, it has to do with guilt. If you feel any guilt at any time, it's a sign that you need to leave a certain substance that is causing you that guilt. That's all that I have for you. Pile 3, we have Queen of Hearts. And we're going to go ahead and work on your trigger trauma. So your trigger is trauma. And then we're going to work on the pattern. Your trigger is immense. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say that. I meant to say your trauma. The trauma for the people who chose the Queen of Hearts is immense. It is like I am dying kind of immense. These are just general readings. I have to remind people because if I don't, people like take the aim so personally. So the people that are in this group have a trauma, right? And you work so hard to heal it. Like, it's a gash, okay? So you have a gash from here to about back here that was just opened by really messed up people. The amount of, whether it's spiritual damage, childhood, infant damage, is so immense. The amount of meat that was cut, whether this was energetically, spiritually, physically, whatever, but it's so thick. And you have spent your entire life healing this wound to the point where all you have left now is a scar. But every now and then, somebody comes around and says something smart. They say something intentionally to harm you, to hurt you, to affect you, to belittle you, to make you feel like you are wrong, to make you feel like your opinion doesn't matter. More than ever, you are triggered by your own family, even your children, older siblings, deceased siblings, I mean, deceased family members, deceased parents, deceased grandparents. Like, you're even triggered by people who already died. You just think about a memory of something messed up that this dead person did to you. Okay? You have like, I can't even stand still because there's just so much. I want to like a basket so heavy with complaints of what people have done to you on all levels of physical, energetic, emotional, spiritual, and acted like they didn't know what they were doing. Violations, um, and you have done such an amazing job to heal this scar and to hide this scar so that nobody sees it, so that nobody senses it, so that nobody even suspects. But unfortunately, you're hypersensitive, you're empathic, and you can sense when an acquaintance, a coworker, a family member says something mean and means it. And all of a sudden, your scar starts leaking this pink liquid and it starts oozing out. And you start looking at this pink slime and you start to remember. And then it starts coming out, all this blood, and you can't stop it. And it just comes out and it just. This pile needs to stay away from people who kick your stitches. Do you understand me? I need you to get on an airplane and go as far away as possible from people who kick your stitches. My God, this pile, you have me dying over here. Um, I even want to whisper because you're so tired of people yelling at you. You're so tired of people screaming at you. Oh my gosh. You're gonna make me cry. You did it. You made me cry. Oh my gosh. I'm gonna share something with this pile because you're just tearing me apart. Um, I'm moving in, I don't know, half a year. I'm moving in half a year from I left Hawaii because there were really dark ruins over there. There were these ruins that originally were meant to open up positive things, and they were corrupted by the god of war and all of its influences. So these dark ruins became these dark portals that um, really affected me in so many ways. And I had to leave Hawaii, even though I had an amazing experience there. And I came here to below 0 degree weather. And there are too many people here. There are too many people here. I have grown more hypersensitive with time. The more I'm sober, the more the older I get, I have become more sensitive. And I realized that there's certain populations that I cannot handle. So I was born in California, San Francisco, California, and you can imagine how much binging. I almost died of alcohol poisoning. I don't know how many times in California. So that's why I left California to move somewhere where I can control myself and let go of everything, you know? And I succeeded. I was able to be sober for about 6 years in Hawaii, is where I was able to successfully be sober. And then I had a possession where I was possessed by my surroundings, had a really dark history at the last house that I lived in Hawaii. I don't want to say the town. I don't want people to come for me. And it was just full blown possession. And I had a relapse, but ended up living in Hawaii for about 8 years. So I have to move again. I have to move again because I realize that I cannot live with a certain population. And I'm not talking about ethnicity, I'm talking about the amount of people, like too many people, too many people. Like I need to live somewhere where it's semi isolated, where there's just a close community, everybody knows each other, and I cannot do big populations. So I'm going to have to move again. The reason why I share that with this pile is because maybe you're going through the same thing. Maybe you're living in a city or a state that is just so overwhelming and you can't hear yourself think. You can't hear the voice of the Lord. You can't connect and ground and connect with Source. Then maybe it means that you need to go somewhere more quiet. So that's why I share with you this little mini story of mine so that you see that you're not the only one that feels like, oh my God, I'm so tired of moving. I just want to call a place home already. Okay. So, my gosh, the amount of trauma is like, let's just go ahead and do it. Okay. So, your trauma is the shape of DNA. The trauma is on your DNA. So, we're going to go ahead and clear the trauma on your DNA all the way at the top. Do you see that? Do you see that? It is black, it is bruised, it is purple because humanity's anatomy was violated. They took our DNA anatomy, our original. And it's so important to repair whatever we can. We don't just have a couple senses. Like, are you freaking kidding me right now? You have 5, 6 senses? Are you freaking kidding me right now? We have an infinite amount of sensors. That's what they want you to think because they just cut, and did all that damage. So we're going to go ahead and shed light to that bruise so that you're growing like a garden and flowers. And there's like a rainforest where there was a bruise. And then we're going to go down. And we're just going to clear these traumas from past lifetimes that don't need to be there anymore. There's so much past lifetime trauma. You don't need all this trauma. Like there's so much trauma about things that don't matter anymore. So let's say you have trauma, unexplainable trauma that has to do with a mistake where, let's say you dropped a baby in a past lifetime, right? You dropped the baby in a past lifetime and the baby passed away. You are still carrying that. You're still carrying that mistake from that past lifetime, and that's what we're clearing. It's not necessary for you to feel regret over some soul that already reincarnated. It was painful in that past lifetime, but right now that soul is already with you. They've already reincarnated again. When a child wants to be with a certain mother and maybe the mother's on birth control pill and it doesn't work. So one day when they are ready, that they are going to reincarnate. I don't support birth control, by the way. It's toxic. I was just using that as an example. Like, that's not going to stop the soul that's supposed to reincarnate. You know what I mean? And sometimes that doesn't even work. So your soul is hurting over someone who already reincarnated and is with you now. Does that make sense? Or let's say you had a loss where you lost your lover in a past lifetime. They're already with you, fool. They're right there, right next to you. You're over there crying about a lover from a past lifetime. They reincarnated and they're right there next to you. You know? So continuing to clear trauma from your DNA. There is memories, bad memories, all that. We're just gonna clear it. It doesn't mean that it never happened. It doesn't mean that it's going to be erased from your history book. If you want to go to the Akashic Library in the astral realm, 5D realm, I don't really like calling it those things because it's so much more than that. To me, it's more like liquid crystal. So if you want to go through meditation, you can go to the Akashic Library and you will find all of your history. So I'm not clearing your history. I am clearing the pain associated with that history that doesn't need to be there. Okay? So with you, your trigger is immense. Let me tell you, like, I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to replace it with because it's so immense. You're going to need a really good replacement. And these triggers is especially if you are single, these triggers are going to be felt or are felt heavier. That's why the Lord blesses you with a companion, because you and your companion help heal each other and help keep each other intact. so that neither of you go astray to the underworld, which we can easily go to emotionally. And that is why lower things attack the emotions, is because they know that that's how they can get you to the underworld. So, I'm trying to figure out what to replace it with, because I see that whenever this pile gets triggered, there is nothing, there is no going back. When you are triggered, there is no going back. You're shoving people out the way and you go to the bar. You're shoving people out the way and you're, putting the injection in your neck, so to speak. So I'm trying to see what you can do to stop that. Valerian root is not going to work with this pile. It could if you can take a nap and just take some valerian root, medicate with something holistic. So, a big problem that happens with this pile is your amygdala gets hijacked. When you sense a trigger coming, you have 6 seconds to react and respond before all hell breaks loose. Okay. So, it's your amygdala. That is your trigger point. You're going to have to take care of your amygdala. You're going to have to avoid caffeine and completely eliminate energy drinks. I know it's painful. It's very, 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 very painful indeed. If you cannot quit completely energy drinks, try to only use them when you're active, because if you're not active, the activity is going to go directly to your trauma in your brain. So if you are one of those that's like, oh, I just love energy drinks because of this or that reason, well, even if you use the excuse of trying to clean in your house, I tried to use that excuse, and unfortunately, that's not being active enough. So I'm one of those that like energy drinks. I can only drink them if I'm active outside the house. If I'm inside the house trying to clean, it ends up going to target my trauma and memories. Okay, so it's better to just cut it off altogether, and just tell yourself, okay, every now and then you'll enjoy a little energy drink when you're out with friends, being active outdoors. Just tell yourself that. When you tell yourself that, then that little clinginess to the no stops. You're like, I'm not saying no, I'm just saying every now and then, you know, with the energy drinks. Because for some reason, when you say no completely, your body just wants to freeze up, especially for addicts in recovery, right? It's like there's only so many things we can say no to. I'm just kidding. Um, so, addicts get grumpy when you try to take their cigarettes, their coffee, energy drinks, like whatever, candy, like whatever little things that they try to replace the addiction with. They get grumpy when you try to take that away, but you have to practice taking those away. Okay, so back to your trigger, pile three. You see how complex it is? Like it's all over the place. So you've been experiencing spiritual attacks, and what I suggest for you is to not stay home for too many days in a row. For this pile, when you stay home too many days in a row without going out and getting exercise, you start getting triggered spiritually and psychologically with something that you can't explain that leads to suicidal thoughts and relapse temptation. Okay, so your clearing for your trigger is going to be being more dismissive and active. Okay, so when a trigger happens, remember the 6 second rule. Are you going to react to this ridiculous situation that's trying to make you relapse? Or are you just going to be more active and dismissive? So I'm going to activate your routine so that it includes more dismissing. You need to be more dismissing. Don't be on your phone. Don't be on social media. Don't talk to people. Avoid people. If you see it, the BS, if you can sense the BS coming, just push it away. I'm not dealing with that. I'm not dealing with that offense. I'm not dealing with that. Oh, a ticket. I just got a ticket in my car. You just grab that ticket and act like it's not worth, like, choose what you don't want to respond to. If it's something that's urgent, rain check it. Say, you know what? I'm going to rain check that. I don't have time for that right now. I'm going to rain check that to the bottom of my priority list. You need to learn, pile 3, to be more dismissive. Dismiss emotions. If you do not dismiss emotions, emotions are going to take over. They're going to take over your amygdala. They're going to hijack you, possess you, and there you go. You're going to be on the floor with your substance. It is preferable for you to cry out the anguish than you to give attention to these trap emotions. It is preferable for you to just sit in your pillow. Like, let's say you're the type of person that has valerian root over panic attacks, like me. I accidentally drink too much coffee. I accidentally give myself a panic attack or a frenzy. I get the valerian root. But let's say you're feeling so sheepy that you don't want to go to the store. You can't stop crying. You're on your pillow. It's better for you to cry and feel the pain and anguish, even if it feels nasty, than for you to respond to the trigger. Because if you respond to the trigger and you go and you get what you know your body does not need, that self-destructive substance, you're going to feel 100 times worse the next day. Imagine how bad you're feeling in that pillow. Do you want to crank the volume up to 100 of what you're feeling? Because that's what you're going to feel by getting the self-destructive substance and not choosing to dismiss the trigger. We have the power to dismiss the trigger. How? With ego. You gotta check the ego. It's always the ego, I swear. Like, I honestly believe that ego is before possession. And then you wonder why you're in pain and things don't go away, don't go your way. Is it? It's because you couldn't check the ego. It's always that for everyone, for all piles. It's always that. There's always some form of that. You know, you might be like, oh, I'm the victim. I'm the victim. It's still ego if you're the victim. It's because you're the victim that you should take care and love and nurture the victim, not give attention to the ego that is further going to harm the victim. Okay. So we activated you being able to be more dismissive and controlling over your emotions, controlling your emotions, controlling your disappointment. calling out your ego, choosing when to respond, rain check that trigger. Say, you know what, trigger? I'm going to rain check your ash. I'm going to rain check you. I'm not dealing with this. I see it and I'm going to deal with it later. And then you deal with it later and it's nothing. It's irrelevant. It becomes just discarded. Triggers want to trigger you at their moment. So let's say there's a negative energy with the trigger. It wants to get a response, a reaction immediately. It wants to get under your skin immediately. But if you say, get out of the way, get out of the way, get out of the way, I will deal with your ridiculousness later. It falls on its back, unable to get up like a turtle because you did not acknowledge it. So your trigger prevention has to do with not acknowledging BS. You acknowledge people's BS too much and you need to crumble that binder paper, crumbled up, thrown out. And you have to dismiss people more. Dismiss people more. Dismiss people more. Dismiss people more. All the way around. Physical, energetic, emotional, just dismiss them more. Dismiss more. The best way to prevent triggers is to be ready for them on a daily basis. When you're ready for them, they don't come. As soon as you forget and let your guard down, that's when they come. So that's what I have for you. Let's go ahead and move on to your patterns. So you're doing an amazing job with your patterns. Pile 3, you're doing an amazing job with your patterns where you're eliminating stressful situations. You are eliminating stressful jobs, eliminating stressful friends, eliminating stressful acquaintances, no longer talking to people who gaslight you and ghost you and treat you less than you deserve. You're just clearing all that crap out. You are literally clearing your own patterns during this time. I don't even have to do it. You're already intuitively clearing out your own patterns. Amazing. Amazing. So, any last things that I want to say to you? Yes, I have one last thing to say to this pile. You are so hypersensitive and high vibrational. You're up here, you go up, you go multidimensional, interdimensional, multidimensional. You are extremely high vibrational. Okay. So when lower energies come around, they want to see you fall hard. Why would you give them the pleasure? Why would you give them the pleasure of getting to see you fall so hard? By you dismissing these energies that want to see you go down, you win. So you have to keep winning. You can't have a good day every day. I get it. I get it. I get it. When you have one of those difficult days where you just feel like everything is going wrong, the best thing that you can do is don't acknowledge that it's there. Don't acknowledge a bad day. You know what I like to do when I'm having like a bad day where I feel like I am getting attacked by a bunch of crap that will make things fall on the floor to annoy me? I won't pick it up. I won't pick it up. I'm serious. I am dead serious. And it drives it crazy that it can't get you riled up. So let's say you're like walking around, you're having a peaceful day, you just got through doing, you know, good vibrational work. And all of a sudden everything starts falling. Things just fall on the floor just because you walk by, just because you open the door. Things want to go on the floor. Those are all resistance energies. Those are all opposing force energies. Those are all, you know, things that don't want energies that don't want to see you happy. So I'm just giving you that as a silly example, I know, but just so that you don't feel like you're the only one. So whenever stuff like that happens, I won't pick it up. I won't pick it up. Oh, okay. You want to drop everything on my you want me to drop everything because I'm about to do a positive thing? I'm not going to pick it up. I'm just going to leave it on the floor. Fine then. Drop it. There'll be like five things on the floor. Fine. I'm not picking it up. When you give it attention, when you give it attention and fear, that's what fuels these negative triggers is attention and fear. Entities and demons are terrified of humanity and our power. Okay? Terrified. Absolutely terrified of us. We checkmate them. So don't get riled up. You have the power to dislodge those triggers, okay? Your trigger is right here. Right here. This is your life. This is your life right here. And this is where the trigger attacks. I'm just letting you know because you're clearing your own patterns, okay? Pay attention to this one right here. Right here. So let's say you wake up one day and you feel suicidal. Check this area right here. You take that area, and it's usually like this metal tool, and you just dislodge it. And you say, no, no, you're not going to trigger me to have a bad day. Have you ever had a day that you thought was going to go terrible, and then you energetically shifted it so it ended up going amazing? Those are the practices and techniques that you need to improve on to the point where they become more often and consistent, persistent, and common. That's what you want to do is you want to be able to push those negative energies away on a daily basis. This is a daily thing that has to be done daily. If you're feeling weak and you feel like, man, I can't do this, like I'm so weak right now. If you're feeling weak even after you slept, it's because you were attacked energetically and you have to speak. You have to speak. You have to say something with your words. Lift up your arms, get the blood circulating, remember your power, and speak. I am protected. I am protected by the Holy Spirit. I am protected by heaven. I am protected by source. I am protected. My house is protected. My apartment is protected. And those words disable the attack that made you tired. If you're tired, speak. Okay, that's all that I have for you. Pile 4. We have, for those of you who chose this one, you're addicted to a combination of substances, like you like combining drugs and alcohol for this pile, and you don't want to do this anymore. You don't want to do this anymore, and you feel like you have no choice. You feel like you have no choice. But you do. So let's go ahead and eliminate the lie, shall we? This pile feels like you were put in this world against your will. You feel like you're obligated to go to work to make money for a life that you never asked for. You hate this life. You hate the violence and oppression and injustice and ignorance and you despise waking up every single morning. Every now and then you have a good day, but for the most part, you despise your existence in this world. Whenever you feel high on drugs and alcohol and pills and all these things, you feel like there is a purpose. You feel like you're nicer to people and you have more patience to deal with the logical aspects of this 3D world. And that confuses you. You're like, why is it that I'm nicer under the influences? Why is it that I'm a nicer dad when I'm drinking beer? Like, why am I less depressed when I'm on pills? The list goes on. But for whatever reason, regardless of why or how you feel when you use, you feel worse when you're done. Like you feel when it's over. So let's say you sober up and then you feel like, oh my God, sobriety. This is the life that I have to live while sober. Like, are you kidding me right now? So for this pile, it's very important for you to be holistically medicated. Um, find an herb. The best one that I like to recommend for people is valerian root. Valerian root is my favorite for people in recovery. It calms the emotions, it calms the mind, it gets you to sleep. You don't want to take it before going to work. The only negative thing about it is it makes you sleepy and sometimes you have to stay awake, so you have to find other herbs such as kava. I'm not sure if kava is categorized as an herb, but kava won't make you sleepy and will kind of do the same thing to calm you down neurologically. But this pile feels like they cannot be sober. Okay. And I understand you. I understand how you feel. Sorry if my stomach starts growling. I am fasting. Um, I feel like there's a holistic substance that you can take to keep you away from everything else that is safe and holistic, you know. Um, but anywho, let's go on to your trigger. So your trigger is life. Your trigger is life. Your trigger is knowing, excuse me, sorry. Your trigger is knowing too much. So we're just kind of um, softening, softening your brows. Like you're just, I know that you're overly aware, but you're too hard on yourself. And just soften those brows, just soften them up. It's not your fault. You're not the one to blame. Just soften up your bitterness. We're smoothing out and removing this bitterness from your eye sockets and your brows and eyebrow. And we're just clearing it out. There's no blame here. For some of you, the reason why you're nicer to your kids when you're under the influence is because of you growing up in a dysfunctional family where you did not get affection. So you don't know how to give affection unless you're under the influence. So you have to work with a therapist to how you can be more affectionate towards your kids while sober without having to be on the influence and being, you know, catatonic. I don't know why I want to say that because you'll have an outburst Some of you might be bipolar. You'll be really, really sweet and bubbly when you're under the influence. Your possessions are very interesting because your possessions happen in the end. You choose to take the substance. You don't get possessed. You choose to take them. And then you get possessed at the very end. People usually get possessed in the beginning to lead them to it. And for some reason, you know what I'm saying? So just you need to work with a holistic therapist, by the way. Don't do Western. Holistic therapy, um, you have really good potential on your long term. Like you can make yourself very happy if you just stay sober long enough. You have a very good head on your shoulders. And the reason why you lose your mind is because you are intelligent and you're tired of living in this prison. You're tired of knowing too much. You use these excuses of, oh, well, because of the news, because of the politics, because of the president, because of, whatever it is. You can't use those excuses. You are choosing to see the dark things in life. You have to take full responsibility right now. So your trigger is going to be life, but since we can't clear that, you're going to clear your perspective. It's your perspective is your trigger. Your trigger is that you choose to acknowledge the negativity in life. Yes, the whole world is bonkers. We live in a very evil, nasty, terribly corrupted place. All the songs, all the movies, all the TV commercials, all the symbols, they're all negative. But does that mean that we have to acknowledge them all? So, what we're clearing from you is no longer acknowledging the negative things. Don't even talk about it anymore. So, in my past videos, I'm a diagnoser, so I have to talk about things to push them out. But I am getting to the point where I don't need to talk about them anymore to clear them. And I'm really looking forward to sharing that with you um, in the coming months is clearing things without even acknowledging them because there's certain things that don't deserve acknowledgement and we all know what those things are. So back to you. Your trigger is no longer acknowledging the evil in this world, no longer acknowledging any of it. Okay, it exists. Fine. Exist on your own. Let's see who supports you. Because as far as I'm concerned, there's millions, massive protests against those agendas. Just saying, you know, you're not alone in how you think. There's no need to acknowledge it when it comes to your recovery. Everyone is different, you know, and people in recovery have to live in a different way. We can't live in the same way than, your average Joe. We are in recovery, so we have to live by strict rules, standards, and spiritual hygiene, right? So you're no longer going to acknowledge the past. You're not going to acknowledge the negativity. You're not going to acknowledge the trauma, the triggers, the negativity, any of it. Don't even acknowledge it. Don't even acknowledge it. Don't even look at it. Okay? And when someone starts talking about it, say, I'm going to stop you right there. I have chosen to live a life that does not include any negativity. Don't worry about hurting people's feelings, okay? Do not worry about hurting people's feelings because it is the most liberating feeling ever, to be honest, when you come from a dysfunctional family where you're suppressed from saying your opinion. One time I had a coworker at work ask me, if I was into gossip. And she was like, "So, are you into gossip?" And I'm like, "Absolutely not. I believe you get bad karma for gossip, so no." And, sure, I could have hurt her feelings, but it's like, I don't care if I hurt your feelings. I don't want that in my world. And I'm going to be blunt. And that's just the kind of person that I am. Like, if I say something, it's for a reason. Okay, back to you. You're going to see how your life is going to change as you stop acknowledging the stuff. Unfollow, unsubscribe, not interested. Look at your social media. I had to do this for myself the other day. Probably like 2, 3 weeks ago, I had an empathic breakdown where I was feeling too much and I couldn't take it anymore. So I went through my social media and I unfollowed anything and everything negative, negative news, violence. I just couldn't do it. I know it exists, but I don't want it in my face all the time. And I unfollowed all this stuff. I only follow maybe just a couple little world news, just a little tiny world news here and there. But for the most part, you're going to see how your life is going to change as you just stop acknowledging the evil. And in your own world, it's not going to exist. And when it does, you're going to make your own contribution. So you have a powerful contribution. Don't feel guilt by saying, like, oh, well, if I stop watching the news, that makes me a bad person. No, it does not. No, it does not make you a bad person to stop watching the news. You know what makes you a bad person? For you to continue to support a corporation or a company that supports evil, you know? So this mouse here, if it came from a company that does negative things to people, I'm going to stop buying from that company. That is your powerful contribution. You don't have to poison your precious eyes with all this violence. Okay, you know it exists. You know who not to support now. You're not going to support anyone who supports violence without having to look at it. So that is going to be your trigger, and you're just, okay, no more negative acknowledgments. Got it. Don't even speak about it. If someone brings it up, remember that time that your mom did? I'm sorry, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it. Mm-mm. Okay? That is what is going to help you. Get rid of all negative words and conversations from your life and tell me your life does not improve. Okay? Stop talking about it. Stop talking about it. Your ex hurt you. Stop talking about it. You're never going to get over it if you keep on talking about it. Stop talking about the ex that hurt you. You ever meet somebody and all they talk about is their ex, and you're just like, oh my God, you're complaining because of your ex, but you're talking about them. Let's move on to the patterns because the patterns are going to be different. Patterns are lack, discontent, anger, rage, disappointment, boredom, even boredom. Can you imagine? So we're going to take all those things and put them in a bag. And the bag is like this brown, big garbage bag. And we just stuffed this bag with all this crap, all this patterns of rage, patterns of anger, patterns of this, patterns of that. And we're just going to tie it up. And you're taking full responsibility. You're taking full responsibility for the patterns that lead to your self-destructive habits. All your patterns are scattered. That's why you can't see them clearly, because they're all scattered. They're scattered and they just come from the left field. So like even right now, some of them want to hide. And then let's say tomorrow comes by and then here's a trigger. And you're like, what is this? What is this? Like, we clear all the scattering. We're not acknowledging negative things. What is this? So for you, your patterns are things coming from the left field that drives you absolutely wild when things come out of the left. And then having to deal with them. Deal with them. That is your solution, is deal with them, okay? When things come out of the left field, I want you to postpone them immediately. So don't deal with them right away. So like, let's say you have something come from the left field, okay? That we have not discussed, like a mystery item, a hidden item, a wild card. Yeah. And it's right there in the left. And you're like, do you see this? Do you see this future item from the left field trying to come? Like, yeah. Calm down. Let's postpone it. So you're going to take what came from the left field and you're going to postpone it. What are you going to do next? You're going to do what you were going to do anyway before that item came from the left field. So let's say you're about to wash dishes. Let's say you're about to do homework. Let's say you're about to send an email. Keep doing what you were going to do by all means. Take that thing that came from the left field and shove it in a cube and say, I'm going to deal with you later. And you go back to doing what you were going to do anyway. You're like, I wasn't done washing dishes. I'm going to go continue washing dishes. So you start washing your dishes and you're sitting there thinking like, this thing just came from the left field. What am I? This is exactly why I can't be sober. I can't do this anymore. And then what starts happening? Ego, disappointment. And you realize that thing that I threw in the cube, that thing that I threw in the cube has my ego coming out of its shell. And you need to shatter that shell. You have to shatter that shell. Even if it means, okay, let's take the item that was in the cube, let's open it up, deal with it, and then move on to the next thing and spend as little time as possible with the item that came from the left field. Does that help? The reason why I did these readings now is because it's about to be the winter solstice. And around the winter solstice, this is when all the triggers start coming at the end of the year. It's cold, it's snowing, all those negative voices want to tell you about how much you haven't succeeded, how much you haven't got done, how lonely you are, how broke you are, how you can't pay for this, how you can't pay for that. Don't listen to any of those voices, okay? Just cut them all out. So we're cutting all those voices, all those future voices that all four piles are going to hear. We're just going to cut out all those voices and we're just going to be like, gosh, so much heaviness, so much burdens that do not belong to you. Prioritize your peace of mind. Your peace of mind is what should be your priority. Okay, thank you so much for watching. Till next time. Bye.